The hub, that's the innovation hub in Youngstown, is an example of place-based innovation. I have been doing research and writing about this, and probably a formal definition is when a region of the country puts resources and focus around bringing a technology-based economic development into a certain region where you have, say, an anchor institution, talent, and also sort of the technological expertise to really produce an economy around a particular sort of in place, locally rooted type of activity. So the innovation hub really has all of those parts. When you think about who those anchors are, you have YBI, America Makes, Youngstown, the university there. You have, because of the over decade of America Makes really focusing in on additive manufacturing, now this place is attracting, talent that's interested in those types of opportunities, industry partners who are interested in what's there. So you have this attraction. And so now the hub can sort of focus that around aerospace and defense, and continue to sort of develop technology. New technology areas will come about. How you align that for entrepreneurship, for commercialization, and also workforce development for people who are looking for these sort of tech-based, high-paying jobs. Those are the ingredients, right, around which a region can really focus in, but then create an economy that sort of drives the prosperity of the region and also has some benefits for national security.
For people who may not be following defense policy closely right now, why should manufacturers in Northeast Ohio be paying attention to what's going on in Washington?
Yeah, great question. And I guess it does give context to why we're in such an important time right now. If we go back a few years, to the COVID pandemic, what it really showed us is how fragile many of the supply chains are that supply technology in particular in the United States. So you think about, batteries, electronic components, and even some of the materials that these things are built from. We found out, that, having these supply chains offshored so drastically leads to real problems. So fast forward to where we are now, particularly when you look in the defense space, defense and aerospace, and when we say those things more and more now, we mean drones, right? And so we know that in sort of particularly in the small drone space, where we have commercial products and products that are used by law enforcement and other domestic entities, the market share for the United States there is very small. And so when we're thinking now in terms of what we see on the battlefield in Ukraine and how that's influencing the Department of War's thinking about what the future of warfare looks like, what the future for needs for the soldiers and warfighters, drones play a big part. And now, there's a desire to have thousands and thousands of these available for either the Defense Department to buy or to use. And we don't have that manufacturing base here, right? And so advanced manufacturing will give us the ability to quickly sort of spool up the manufacturing for efficiency, for scale, for speed. And Youngstown, Ohio, because America Makes was started there years ago, is really sort of the ground zero for additive manufacturing, research and development. And so what this will mean for where some of these techniques and where some of the talent will come from is that Northeast Ohio should be paying attention because the technology that's been developed there for manufacturing will be front and center for some of the future commercial and military needs.
So when you're talking about that, and in particular drones, I guess, since you brought that up, is there sort of a one size fits all manufacturing for this, or is this something where smaller companies can get involved because maybe they're manufacturing a specific component, or do we want, I guess what I'm saying is, do we want these systems, these weapons to be more modular so that there's interchangeable parts, and that's maybe an easier entry point for smaller manufacturers?
Yeah, modularity has been a big push from the beginning of some of the development conversations. But even if you go back to, years ago, World War II times, when the government was using some of their authority to get people to retool their manufacturing lines to build parts. In those, even back then, they would do the plans and the drawings so that a different company can build a part. It's not really proprietary to one company. Only more recently, when we got to much more complex systems, we see a lot of the vendor lock and the proprietary nature sort of take over. But modularity has been a big push now. And even beyond modularity, when you think about the numbers that are needed, it's sort of, all hands on deck on the manufacturing side because it's very unlikely that one producer is going to produce the thousands and thousands of drones that are needed. And so it's really all hands on deck for the manufacturing to produce the components, to produce the platforms, and then on the other side of it, interoperability is another word that has been around. It's, big long word, but it really means that many different platforms coming from many different manufacturers and providers, but being interoperable so that they can work together in either a mission space or even in the commercial space.
From your experience in the Pentagon, what do you see as the biggest vulnerabilities to the US right now?
Well, I'm not in the government anymore. I don't speak for
Sure.
the government, and I want to be, careful with, the things that we talk about in terms of vulnerabilities. But clearly, we see, adversary nations, China being one, investing hugely in, AI, autonomy. We see, clearly in China a competitor that is tremendously equipped as far as manufacturing and actually the means of production, right? And so the scale and pace that they can move in terms of manufacturing really gives them, a tremendous position in terms of competition. When I talk about the market share for drones, DJI, which is a Chinese company, owns, 80% or better of the market share in small drones. And that's on the commercial side. And we've seen those, used on the battlefield in Ukraine. And so there are some really challenging numbers out there when you think about the manufacturing capability, the market share imbalance. And those are things that we really, really have to work on because, again, we saw in the past the difficulty, the fragility of these supply chains. And when it comes to these secure systems, where we would have them doing tasks that we want to be sure are secure, we can't really rely on foreign markets to supply those things anyway. And so the need to really come up to speed on manufacturing at tremendous scale is where we really have to concentrate and invest, and we are. And also, we've been technology leaders. We continue to be the leader in the AI space. It looks like we will hold on to that lead for some time, but we have to, covet that lead, right? And figure out how do we, along with, the lead that we've had, continue that we don't have surprises out into the future.
If the US gets this right, all goes according to plan, what does success look like 5 or 10 years down the road?
Yeah, well, this is one of the things that attracted me to this place-based innovation as a strategy, right? It really is sort of the opportunity to decentralize the production, the means of production, to decentralize sort of where the talent lies, and to create more founders, more discoverers, more producers in an array of emerging technologies. And so the drone problem is a tangible example, and we can see what that looks like, right? But the production, the energy around it shouldn't just be only in Washington and Silicon Valley and maybe Austin, Texas. Also, it should be there's talent everywhere. And I think the Mahoning Valley is an example, because over a decade ago, when America Makes started there as one of the first, in fact, I think the first manufacturing institute in the United States, Youngstown had the tradition of being a steel producer and very much in the Rust Belt, right? And so as we go through this transition, um, places like Youngstown that have talent, that have shown tremendous economic strength in the past, we have to see that as seeds for economic strength going forward. And so having that happening around the country, right? Not just in certain pockets, is the opportunity that we have with this innovation economy now that is growing and can now sort of sustain the future sort of prospects in a way that traditional economy did in the past. So for me, at 10 years from now, success looks like really having this nationally distributed capability in the production and commercialization of emerging technology.
What's one thing that you hope people will take away from your talk at Amex? And I guess, why should a business who maybe wasn't planning on attending, maybe thinks that this doesn't apply to them, why should they come hear all the information that's going to be available at this event?
Well, there's just we're right now in this realignment and it looks chaotic and all these things. There's so much opportunity right now, right? I think we started to see it in the last administration with the tremendous investment in Chips and Science Act and those things. And that was really just around, semiconductor technology and the fact that we need to reshore this and really, really grow that. But there are an array of emerging technologies, right? We're seeing AI and autonomy now. There are things on the horizon in terms of bio and other places. And so there's tremendous opportunity. And I think the conversation that we'll have this week at Amex is really around, you know, sort of memorializing the tremendous growth around manufacturing, acknowledging that we're in this moment where now AI and autonomy are having a sort of a coming out party. And the integration of that with the manufacturing progress that's been made in this region creates new opportunity for new discussions. I don't intend to be the keynote speaker with all the answers. I really want to create conversation. And to be in that conversation, you need to be in this room, right? In this moment, and really start to think about how going out from this event, how do you start to leverage networks that are already in place, create new ones to really take advantage of the opportunity that's happening at this intersection that's occurring right now with the success of the growth of manufacturing that's been spawned in your region, and now this intersection with automation and this tremendous need that's being announced from the commercial and military spaces around technologies like drone technology and some of the others.